Hi, everyone. Okay, so welcome back. It's Dishing with Diamonds time again, and I am just thrilled, as I am every single week, because every week we get different perspective, different knowledge in regards to the journey to becoming a diamond with Plexus Worldwide. Now, before I get to introduce our guests, I, of course, want to just share with you guys that this opportunity that we're talking about is our own personal experience. We are not making any health claims, and we are definitely not making any financial claims. We are simply just sharing our journeys with Plexus and how we got to be diamonds. So without further ado, I have the pleasure of introducing literally one of the kindest, most genuine, and truly sweetest people I have ever met in my entire life. Y'all, this is Erin Zimmerman. She lives in Oklahoma, and she's a diamond with our company. So welcome, Erin.
Thank you so much. Thank you for asking me. I'm so happy to be.
I'm so excited. Oh, you're so sweet. I'm so excited that you're here, and I'm grateful. I know, you and I have had opportunities to chat, but I don't know that I've ever really just been able to sit down with you and visit with you about your journey. So this, for me, in a lot of respects, will be like hearing it. It is like hearing it for the first time. So let's just dive into these questions. How does that sound?
Sounds good.
Okay,
yeah.
Awesome. Well, walk me through what life looked like before you ever heard of Plexus. What was life like before Plexus?
Okay, so this is actually a big part of my story, and it's one of the neatest things I think when I think about pre-Plexus and then post-Plexus. So I was in corporate America for about 8 years. I'm a registered dietitian, and I also have my MBA and my master's degree in nutrition. So I worked for a large corporation in pharmaceutical sales in Oklahoma City. And then after about a year and a half, I had the opportunity to go to the headquarters and be the sales training instructor for all the new reps that were hired throughout the company. So it's a fantastic opportunity. The idea was to take me in-house, develop me from a leadership standpoint. And in the meantime, I would be doing this sales training job, which actually had a lot of things about it that developed me from a leadership standpoint. And then they would spit me back out somewhere in the country to be a district manager. So this was pre-kids. So John and I picked up, moved to Indiana, and we were there. We were supposed to be there for 15 to 18 months. And 6 years later, we decided that maybe we were kind of in one of those points in our lives where we felt like we needed to make a change. And what had happened was I went through the developmental role, and then the districts that began to open up were not in parts of the country that we really wanted to spend the rest of our lives. We really wanted to get back closer to home, closer to Oklahoma. And so instead of just sitting and waiting, I began to do some other cross-functional things. I spent some time in marketing at that company, which I loved. I did a lot of work with procurement. I did a ton of work with regulatory, legal, and compliance. So all the things that we go through with Plexus, with those departments, I understand completely where they're coming from and how they're really trying to protect us. And I'm so thankful for that experience. Anyway, so we had our oldest, Claire, when we lived in Indiana. And then I was pregnant with John Parker, and I look up and I realize I'm doing this job that was my dream job, to be a district manager. I loved it. I had a large territory and 9 reps that were reporting to me, and it was a pretty good sized business unit. The company had paid for me to go get my MBA. I was just really, I think by all accounts, just successfully climbing the corporate ladder, but it was at such a great cost. I was spending so much time away from my family. My little girl, she was under 2 at the time. And then here I am pregnant. I was traveling all over the place. And honestly, all the travel I did, it wasn't enough. And that was sort of the thing that I realized we've got to make a change. This isn't where my heart is. I really wanted to be a stay-at-home mom. I really felt like that's what I was called to do. So we just decided one day for me to walk away. And it was a huge leap of faith, but I knew that that's what God was calling me to do. I knew it was the right thing, and we knew he would take care of us. So I left my job, and I thought at the time that I was forfeiting all my hopes and dreams of ever having a successful career. I was okay with it because I knew that's what I needed to do. But at the same time, I had just invested 8 years of my life with this organization. I thought that I would, continue to rise through the ranks. But we moved back to Oklahoma, landed in Tulsa where my husband got a job. And I was just happy to be at home, hanging out and raising my 2 little babies. In the meantime, John, my husband's income is, he has a great job and he makes good money, but it's variable. So there might be a month that we get an influx, and then that's got to sort of last us for a while. And I really felt like that it would be good for me to contribute in some way financially, and maybe just keep some consistent income that we could have, even if it was just to save up or if it was for the kids' school or whatever. But I was burned out on working. I never wanted to work outside the home again. But at the same time, the things I was looking at to try and do they were going to take me outside of the home, or cause me to be paying a babysitter to watch the kids and then go and make barely enough to cover the cost of my babysitter. So it just wasn't working out. In the meantime, I'm watching 2 of my best friends from college, which you guys probably know. So it's this little girl named Celeste. She's kind of successful. And then Jen Hawkins, she's kind of successful too with Plexus. As you guys know, they're the 2 biggest earners with Plexus. They're just my college, roommates, college buddies. We pledged sorority together. We were in each other's weddings, and I'm just watching them on Facebook, and I'm like, what in the world are they doing? Because I'm a registered dietitian. Dietitians are trained to be skeptical. And so I'm looking at them thinking, here's just another diet. We have girls' weekends periodically. We all got together. It was right after Jenny was selling it, and Celeste and Suzanne Clinton were her customers. But that was really the extent of it. And they were all asking me what I thought. And without researching any of it, all my assumptions, I just told them what I thought, that it's a diet, and once you quit the products, you'll gain all the weight back, and you can't sustain any diet for very long. I was bringing all my dietitian lingo in. And but there was a point 18 months after I watched them for 18 months that I could not deny the success that they were having from a financial standpoint, but also their health. And so I actually looked into the products, and I was so excited to see that these are products that truly address health, and that they get to the root cause of what's going on. And so by seeing that this wasn't a Band-Aid and it wasn't just a quick fix, but it was truly helping to restore health for a lot of people, I got interested. A couple of things about my background. From a health standpoint, I'm a dietitian. I know how to eat well. I also have my undergraduate degree is in exercise science, sports medicine. So I know how to exercise, and I've always been very consistent with exercising and eating well. But I had stomach aches every single day. I had splitting headaches that would put me to bed. My vision would go. I would have numbness in my arm and my face. But I was healthy, right? Because I eat salads and, lean meats, and I exercise every single day. But there was no amount of exercising or eating lettuce that was going to restore my gut health. And I really started to figure that out. It took me a while, but I really started to understand that. I was pregnant with our 3rd baby about the time I started really thinking about Plexus. And my husband, John, he had been watching all this too, because he knows Celeste and Jenny from college as well. And he's like, I want to try the products. Will you please order them? And I'm going to try them. Because I was still very skeptical. And so I wanted to get the cheapest price, because again, I mean, I'm a stay-at-home mom and our income is variable. And so I signed up as a wholesale ambassador just for the discount. And I thought maybe I could make enough each month to cover the cost of my product. And I thought that was shooting pretty high. And the reason was because I had tried another network marketing company once we moved to Tulsa, and it was a disaster. I was out of the house all the time, doing parties. I wasted so much money on supplies, and I would buy the kit for the host to do the party, and the kit was like $30 out of my pocket, and we would go and do this party, and we would sell like one $8 item, and I just spent 4 hours away from my family, and it was awful. And I thought, I will never, ever, ever do network marketing again. But going into Plexus, I thought maybe I could just tell a couple of friends, and if I can make just enough to cover the cost of my product, then we'll be good to go. And I knew they didn't have parties. I knew they didn't have all those things, no inventory, all of that I didn't like. So anyway, the first month I did that, covered the cost of mine and John's product. All I did was post on Facebook and share. Second month, I covered the cost of my product plus my kids' Mother's Day Out program. So that was awesome. I'm super excited. Third month, I covered product, Mother's Day Out, and like a couple of date nights. So just month after month, I'm like, this is growing. And then all of a sudden, I caught the bug. I mean, there was some point where I saw the potential of what I could do with Plexus, and I just dove in head first. I think a lot of it had to do with the people that were joining my team. They gave me energy and excitement. I joined under my older sister, Audrey, and I joined 2 days after my little sister, Cassie, had joined Audrey's team. So we all joined Plexus within 17 days of each other, which is fun. It's a fun story. We've sort of grown up together in this business. Like as we've learned about it, we've done it together and experienced it together. So that's that gives you a little bit of sense of sort of my background and like what led me to the point where I saw that Plexus it was so cool, because one day I realized I was looking for other ways to try to make some income, and God just dropped it right in my lap, because I had so many preconceived ideas about network marketing. And then I never, ever, ever wanted to work outside the home. And he's like, well, here you go. This is like the best of both worlds. So I'm so thankful that I listened to my husband and joined. And John's real entrepreneurial. He saw the vision. He saw the possibilities with it way before I did. And I'm thankful for that. And then, yeah, here it is. It's like the perfect world for me. And I'll talk more about my corporate experience and how it marries so perfectly with what I'm doing with Plexus today. I'm thankful for that. So
I love everything that you said. And one thing that I picked up on, and I'm wondering if our listening audience did the same thing, was when you were in the corporate world and when you decided to be at home with your kiddos, that at that moment, although it was definitely worth giving it up because there was a sacrifice on the corporate world and that was no longer fulfilling, it was like you were still giving up a part of yourself. You said, I had invested 8 years over here. So that decision, although it was best for your family overall, I still sense that there was a part of you that you were giving up as a sacrifice of everything great for your family. And here you are with Plexus. And I don't know about you, but I certainly felt like through the journey, I found myself as a person in regards to what I was able to do, just not being Sadie's mom, not being a wife, but what I found part of me again. And so do we connect there on that statement?
Yes, I think that's absolutely. The cool thing that my greatest learning in all of this is really doesn't even have anything to do with Plexus. It has to do with the willingness to be obedient. John and I both knew that we needed to make a change. We didn't know what it looked like, and it was so scary. But the willingness to be obedient, God has now taken every experience I had in corporate America. Sales training, I can use that in Plexus. Marketing, huge help. My business degree, my nutrition background, my understanding with regulatory and compliance and legal. The whole goal of me going into headquarters was to develop me to be a leader and a manager. So God took all of that 8 years that I thought I was forfeiting at the point. I even had people say, wow, you have 2 master's degrees and you're going to stay home with your kids? And I'm like, yeah, I sure am. Mm-hmm. But it kind of hurt where you're like, oh, I don't know. Was that a huge waste of, income and time? But God took all of that was in a scenario that did not work for me, and that was a huge cost. And he is able to bring it over and apply it to a business now with Plexus that I'm making such a greater impact on people's lives. I'm able to be home with my kids. And he took something that I thought, ooh, I don't know what we're doing here, and made it beyond my wildest dreams. And say that is such a perfect example of when we do it within the way we think it needs to go, it doesn't work out so well. But if we'll just step back, he just brought it all together for good. And that just blows me away when I think about it. It's overwhelming to me, because he's just taken care of us in ways I never even imagined. So
how perfect. I empathize with you on that statement. I'm right there with you. I feel like, in your words in that moment, I'm right there with you, because I agree with you. For me too, this journey has been very much that a lesson in obedience, because it, and they know my story. So I'm not going to compare the two right now, but yes, there were opportunities for me to go one way, and yet I was being very much guided. When it made sense to go this way, I still stayed in his obedience and went this way, and look at where we are with Plexus. I'm so grateful. So I totally get that. So, okay. So we started to creep into your journey a little bit. We know we signed up under Audrey, your sister, which, by the way, you guys, Audrey is a Sapphire ambassador with our company. Y'all do not look alike as far as you're much like my sister and I. She's blonde, I'm brunette, but mannerisms, oh man, like sometimes I feel like I'm sitting here talking to Audrey, because, and people say that about my sister too, that we mimic each other, but we don't look alike. And so I feel like it's the same thing with you and Audrey as well. Although every now and then I'm starting to see more characteristics.
My hair was dark. So I have my dad's features, my dad's nose and my dad's jaw. And then Cassie, our younger sister, we always say it's as if you take me and Audrey and throw us in a paper bag and shake it up, and then you dump out Cassie, because she's blonde, but her face looks just like Audrey's. So you can put 3 together, you can start kind of seeing some similarities. But Audrey and I were at OBU at the same time, and there was this guy, we went to McDonald's with him, and we were just hanging out. He knew both of us separately, and we were hanging out. We were talking about our hometown of Boise City. And this guy was like a brilliant, like genius. Like he had all those big degrees, super smart. But he looks at us and goes, "You guys are from the same town?" And we're like, "We're sisters."
Yeah. Not only are we from the same town, we're from the same gene pool, man.
So funny. So funny.
I love it. That's the best. Well, I think a lot of times too, just being different complexions, meaning, the hair color. I don't know what color her eyes are off the top of my head, but sometimes that just throws people off, because again, I feel like my sister and I, we look more alike than we get credit for, but I think it does roll back to mannerisms more than anything.
Yeah.
So anyway, so we started to creep into your journey a little bit. We know the first few months you were able to do a little bit more, and then you caught the vision. So kind of pick us up from there. What did your journey look like? And specifically, I guess the question that I'm asking you is, how long did it take you to hit silver? And then, and you can give us the overview. I don't know that you have to hit every single rank, but the highlights, like how long emerald, how long to diamond.
Yes. Yeah. So I joined in August the 2nd.
And what year was that?
Of 2013.
Okay.
13. So, and I was 1 month from having our third baby, Henry. He was born September 12th. And so, like I said, I just sort of posted on Facebook a little here and there. And I know people were like, what is she doing? Because I'm a dietitian. And they just thought I was crazy. Even my level 1 runners will tell you, they're like, I thought she was crazy. But I went silver on my birthday, which is October the 23rd. So about, what is that, 2.5 months, almost 3 months to get to silver. And it happened by accident, to be honest with you. One of my best friends from whenever I lived in Indiana, whenever I went to headquarters, she called me one day and she's like, I noticed you talk a lot about the products, but why don't you ever talk about the business opportunity with Plexus? She was already one of my ambassadors. She was one of my first 3. And I was like, I don't know. I hadn't really thought about it. I just was so focused on what the products could do, had not ever even thought about building a team. So that tells you how naive I was going into this. But I went silver October the 23rd. And then of 2013, I went emerald in February of 2015. It took me 18 months from my start date until I went emerald. So I was always a slow and steady. I never went back in points, but I would just grow really slow and steady each month. And that's pretty much continued over the course of my career with Plexus. So that I went emerald. And when I went emerald, you guys are going to think all I do is have babies. I do have 4 children under the age of 8, but actually they're within 6 years. But I went emerald when I was pregnant with our 4th, Charlotte. I went emerald in February and she was born in May. So I think that tells you too. I think a lot of times I hear from people, I'm just too busy to work this business, or I'm pregnant, or some other life circumstance, whatever it might be. And I can't identify with that, because I really do feel like you do what's important to you. You spend your time where your priorities are. Absolutely, my family is a priority. And then my husband and God, of course, and then Plexus. I mean, a lot of other things sort of went. I also think you have to work smart. You don't have to, make yourself crazy. It's a lot of times just about working smarter. But yeah, anybody can absolutely do this, no matter what circumstances that are thrown your way. So I went emerald in February. I went sapphire in August so it would be 2 years to sapphire. And then I thought I was tracking to go diamond 6 months later, so about every 6 months. But it took me about 8 months to get to diamond. And I went diamond in April of 16, so 1 year ago next month. So yes, I've been diamond since then. I'm so excited.
I love that. And what a great journey. I mean, you say, well, I was slow and steady, but I mean, still relatively in comparison, still pretty quick. And I love that it was, like you said, I made gradual growth. And I hope that our listeners and our viewers are picking up on the fact that it took you 3 months to go silver. So those of you that are out there and you feel like you're struggling to go silver because you haven't done it in a month or 2 of starting, that's okay. We've heard so many people's journeys. Some people go fast in regards to getting to silver, and some people take a little bit longer. And I'm here to share with you, your success is on you, right? I mean, Erin said it. She said it way better than I did just a few seconds ago. Your excuses are your excuses. You're going to spend your time where you deem important. And if you deem this important, I promise you're going to make the time for it. Right?
Absolutely, because there's somebody else with the exact same set of circumstances that's growing. There's somebody else who's got 4 kids between the ages of 2 and 8 and, whatever. And they're growing, where you're using that as an excuse. And for me, I think, we've heard that analogy of I can't do it. I've got 4 kids and yada, yada, yada. And then the next person says, I have to do this. I've got 4 kids. I want to be a stay-at-home mom. And that was really, I wanted to be able to enjoy the freedoms, time freedom and financial freedom that Plexus could provide. And so I wasn't doing it in spite of my kids. I was doing it for my kids, for our family, for those opportunities. So and
powerful. And
they don't really even feel the impact of Plexus, because I do my Plexus work before they get up. So that was where I made the biggest sacrifice. I get up about 5 or 5:15 in the morning. My kids start coming down around 6:45 or 7. And so I would get up before then, have my quiet time, and then like focused work for about an hour and get as much done as I could. Then when we start breakfast and everything, I shut everything down and I don't mess with it again until they're sleeping, like nap time or quiet time in the afternoon. I'll jump back on, and then at night after they go to bed. So they don't feel the impact all that much unless I have like a team meeting which those don't happen all that often, like a local team meeting where I'm at a restaurant or something, a little bit of travel, and that was just what worked well for us. But I did make the sacrifice of sleep and, watching TV at night.
there's always a sacrifice in anything that you do that yields such a blessing, but they were small sacrifices. And what I'm hearing is that when you were working in that 2-hour window, you were really working. You were focused. Just as you shut down for your kids and focused on your kiddos, you also shut down and focused on Plexus during those times that you were those allotted time slots. And so that's really important to hear. And then I always ask this question that I didn't prepare you for, but you're going to know the answer because it's your life and you know you better than anybody. So often we hear the formula 5-3-1, right? And so many times I think our teams take it literally. Like, if I want to be a jewel, I'm going to work 5-3-1 every day. Would you agree with me that especially when you were ranking to the top, that you did way more than 5-3-1?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think I didn't do 5-3-1 each day or whatever it was. I might have big bursts, and then I would like kind of sit back and think about it, because you gotta like finesse. You can't just, it's not a formula. It's relationships, and it's like you're weaving things together. So, I mean, part of my reaching out, I don't say a word about Plexus. I'm just trying to reconnect the relationship. I don't talk Plexus face-to-face with people early in our relationship. I friend them on Facebook and then let them watch it all play out on Facebook through my posts. And then I connect with them somewhere down the road. It's a really long cycle, and you've got to be thoughtful and strategic about it, or you're just going to turn people off. So yeah, but I will tell you this was a really good lesson for me. I had a level 1 who joined me probably about a year ago. And I had really played the, like, I'm just going to post on Facebook and let them come to me sort of thing. I did that a long time. And I was growing fine with it because I have a pretty big network because of my corporate experience. And so I'm having great people come to me. But this one friend, she finally reached out to me and said, I want to try it. So I talked her through it. And then after she joined my team, we were talking about 5-3-1 and reaching out. And I said, honestly, Lisa, my first 18 months, I did not do that very well, but I was a little bit more casual about it. And I said, and it worked for me. I didn't want people to feel like they were backed in the corner. And she said, if you would have approached me 6 months earlier, I would have joined you 6 months earlier. But I forfeited 6 months of having her as my level 1. She's a gold ambassador, made gold fairly quickly. She was successful with a previous network marketing company. I was oblivious. And so I kicked myself for not being a little more out there and like reaching out to people sooner. You can do it in a way that's palatable for them, where they're not like, ugh, where they are enjoying the interaction. But anyway, so yeah, I think it's kind of a mix. And I really, like I said, I kind of fell into this. It wasn't like I full force joined and was like, I'm going to be diamond tomorrow. It was not even on my radar for so long that I probably developed some bad habits early on that I had to begin to break out of if I wanted to continue to grow. And even now, if I want to maintain and continue to grow. So.
Absolutely. But I love that vulnerability there, and just the window of honesty of, this is what I did, this is what I could have done differently, and this is what I've learned from it. And we all have that story, but I love that you know that was your example. So thank you so much for sharing that one specifically. So we know this journey has ups and downs. It's just like life. Okay, that our journey does not promise anything differently than the old journey of life, ups and downs. How do you personally stay motivated through the ups and downs?
I have, my temperament is such, and I think this probably goes back some to corporate America. You experience so many things when you're in a home office or in a headquarters. And I want anybody listening to realize that with Plexus headquarters, Plexus home office. Sometimes it's easy to sit out in the field and be like, you know, why did they do that? Or why did they make that choice? Or why can't we get X, Y, or Z? I promise you there's a reason. And there's probably a dozen reasons. And they're not financial necessarily. It could be something compliance related. They could have done some market research, and that just does not make sense to invest money that way. It might make sense in my little microcosm, my little business, but in the grand scheme of Plexus, it might not make sense. So I think it was part sort of training and development, but also just my temperament. I'm pretty calm and steady. I don't have lots of ups and downs. You're not going to see me being the life of the party, but you're also not going to see me depressed, balled up in a corner. I'm pretty steady and even.
You already get that middle ground, right?
Yes. And so when something comes at me, I'm pretty good about take a step back. Let's ask lots of questions. I think a lot of times, if you're a reactive leader, you're going to have a reactive team. And I noticed that leaders that are reactive and they're like, oh, the sky's falling. They have this team of people that are like, oh, the sky is falling. So I really try to just be calm. I think the best policy is take a step back and just ask lots of questions. So when you hear that person say, my whole team's quitting, and then you're like, okay, so tell me who quit. Well, Jane. I'm like, okay, who else? That's it. I'm like, wait a second. You only have a team of one person? So I think sometimes you just have to ask lots of questions and really, really be clear. So I don't overreact in general, but I do have days, especially early in my journey, where I'd be like, man, nothing's happening. Or, when your team is growing and it's still new and you lose someone, the impact is so much greater. I still am sad when I lose someone, and I still look at that and I'm thinking, what did I do? What could I have done differently? Maybe it's just a point in their career, in their journey, that this isn't the right time for them. So you kind of have to be emotionally intelligent with that. But I really try to stay motivated by gleaning from others. So I love to be around other positive jewels. At this point, the jewels really help me because we have similar scenarios. And so I can kind of see what their challenges are, and I see the ideas they have. So I really enjoy that. That helps me so much, and it gives me lots of energy. Like just being on maybe some other Diamonds team pages and watching the programs that they're initiating and stuff like that. That really helps me. But the other thing that I feel like the number one thing that makes me motivated and keeps me excited is whenever I just take action. I think when you think about the fact that momentum loves activity, when you're feeling down and discouraged and sort of overwhelmed, I almost always can realize it's because I haven't been working. And I feel like I'm not staying on top of my business, or I'm not reaching out to people, and I'm not growing personally like my level ones. And so I'll just take action, or if I feel like maybe my team isn't doing anything, if I'll initiate some kind of a program and like take action, then we all start getting excited and momentum follows. So those are the things that I do. I'm pretty disciplined in general. So I know what I need to do, and I'm pretty good about doing it. But I also have those times where I sort of start getting lazy and kind of fall back. And if I'll just take action and get going, I always feel I can't sleep at night. I'm so excited. We have stuff going on, kind of a feeling again. So
Yeah, I love that, because I feel like I could be you right now. We share a lot of the same philosophies in regards to the activity. I think that that's the cure-all for everything. I mean, and I'll even take it a step further and pull it outside of Plexus and tell you, if you're not feeling well, that's the cure-all too in your life. Get into some kind of activity. Change whatever you're doing, change one thing and see if that starts pointing you in the right direction. Do you have a motivational phrase that you kind of fall back on?
yeah, I was thinking about this, and I like all kinds of quotes, and I like to sort of follow lots of different people. So I don't have one that's like a famous phrase, but the thing that I really find myself saying a lot to people is I always tell them, so if they call me and they're kind of getting discouraged, or they feel like their team, it's just like they're kind of stalled out or something's going on, I always just tell them, you're one person away from becoming a diamond. Ooh. You're one person away from a complete shift in momentum on your team, maybe in competitiveness within your team. Because what happens is a new person signs on, and their activity starts sparking this whole train. You, as a leader, may have done a contest last month that it seemed kind of blasé, like the participation was not so great. You could do the exact same contest after this new person joins, and everybody's on fire and excited. There's just something about that, and you never know who it's going to be. So the whole point of that being is you have to continue to do your work. You have to continue to be looking under every rock, in every corner, everywhere you go, for that next person, which means you've got to be sharing, you've got to be reaching out, you've got to be expanding your network and getting to know new people. How often is the rock star somebody we never knew before Plexus? And so that's the thing I've just been hammering home to people is you're one person away from becoming a diamond, because honestly, you just need two like big legs to become a diamond. And so the only way you're going to find that person is to be out there working and looking for them, and quit worrying about the people on your team that you're having to drag along and that you're discouraged because they just don't seem to want to work it. Then that's not the right person. Go find the right person, and then it becomes fun. I do have a team full of people who take initiative. I don't have to drag them along. I try to inspire and motivate, give them ideas and troubleshoot with them when they need me. But man, I have the best team because they truly take initiative. They have fun with it. So in turn, it makes it super duper fun for me because we're all just like excited about it, going for it. So that's sort of my quote is, I feel like you're just one person away from becoming a diamond, and you just got to go find them.
Well, and I love that because it's so true. It keeps you in that space of activity. But additionally, as you continue to find people, it may not be somebody that you found directly that's going to be that quote, like I think you just said it, rock star, right? It could be somebody that you brought on that knows that influencer, or even a level 3. But I mean, it's that one person that can change the momentum of your team. I know that if I have my team in Ohio watching this, that they're going to connect to that. And the person so it's under Heather Rice, who has sponsored Amber, who sponsored Dina, who sponsored Sherry, who sponsored the catalyst to the rock stardom in Ohio. And so there you go. There's there's a person who changed some of the momentum on, ultimately Amber and Heather's team. So I mean, it's incredible what a person can do, and all the way in Ohio, from Texas to Ohio. It's crazy.
The other thing too, and you said this, but whenever people tell me, they're like, you know what, I feel like, we just saturated our market here. It may feel that way. Number one, it's absolutely a myth. I can't accept that that's the truth. I'm from a town of 1,700 people, and so is my sister Audrey, who's a Sapphire. We still get new customers from our town of 1,700 people. And you know what? My baby sister Cassie has a huge customer base. She's also from that same town. So, plus there's a lot of other ambassadors that live there. So, Sonia Dudley's from a small town. So it's not about number one, not about your little network. It's about who your people know. But then beyond that, I promise you your network's not saturated, because you got to think, my small hometown where I grew up, but then there's all these people I went to college with, and then there's all these people my husband knows, and all these work people. And so it really is about not only who you know, but who they know. And that's where it starts getting exciting, and, just the possibilities.
I love your enthusiasm, and equally, I love your positive outlook and how you choose to look at this industry, how you choose to acknowledge and say, we're not saturated. It's a big, big world. It's a big, big country, for that matter. It's a big, big state, wherever you're from. And I just don't feel like, again, like you said, it's that ripple effect. It's not necessarily who I know, but it's who I know, who they know, and so on. And that's the beauty of what we do. And, I'll give an example of just that. I had a gal join me this morning, in fact. Been watching me for 4 years. 4 years. And she decides to join today. So there you go. We're not saturated, because 4 years later, I'm still bringing on people as a diamond with 2 legs. So so we have that for you. So top business tips. What do you have for us?
So I would say number one is just be consistent. You've got to be consistent in taking the products yourself. You've got to be consistent in posting on Facebook and sharing and working your business, doing your IPA, and in leading your team. If you back off for any reason, your team, those little subtle things your team picks up on, you just got to continue to be exuding the confidence, the energy, the excitement, and they're going to follow suit. But if you're negative or sporadic, you're training your team to be the same. So I always say you have to be consistent. And to what you were saying, if you would have decided, you know what, I'm a diamond now, I don't really need to continue to share, or I don't need to continue to follow up or post on Facebook, the girl that joined you today would have found somebody else that was out in obviously promoting Plexus. She might have assumed, Rainey must not be doing this anymore. So I think it's so important that you just do what you know is right and what works, and stay consistent with that. That's the first one. I kind of alluded to this, but you have to focus on your own business first. I think that's probably one of the biggest mistakes that people make, and I made it, was getting into management mode, and I stopped recruiting. And my husband, bless him, he's so much more intuition about this business, but he was all along like, Erin, you need to continue to be bringing on level ones. And I'm like, But sure enough, there was a point, I had a dry spell of several months. And then I, started picking back up again. I really do aim to go silver every month. I don't do it, but there are some months that I do. Some months I'll have 6 people join, and then other months I might just have 1 or 0. So I'm always trying to. I just think that's so important. I'm very thankful. I only have 1 level 1 jewel on my team, but I'm a diamond. I have 4 jewels, but that are, lower levels, but then I have about 9 or 10 senior rubies. And I'm so thankful for that. So I'm super wide. then I continue to have some level ones that are like gold, senior gold, and they're growing. So I just think that's really important to go wide and to continue to focus on your own personal business. And then I also think it's really, really, really important to stay plugged in. I love the analogy of a fire. So if you think about a fire, there's like a campfire. There's all those embers, those hot, red burning embers and coal in there. Well, sometimes you'll be watching and like you'll throw a log on and one of those embers will sort of topple out and get over toward the edge of the fire pit. Well, before you know it, it's like just gray ash. And maybe deep down inside, there's a little bit of hot, fiery coal in there. But for the most part, it's just cooling off and it's about to die. The fire in it is about to die. But if you grab it and grab a stick and kind of flick it back up on the fire, before you know it, it's bright orange again. And I think that that's absolutely the case with every single Plexus ambassador. You've got to stay plugged in. You have to go to convention. I know it's like a broken record, but you have to go to events. You have to be plugged into a team page in a group. And if you are lucky enough to have a local group of ambassadors that you're a part of, a team, you've got to do stuff with them and stay plugged in. So I think those are the three things that I would say is be consistent, focus on your own personal business first, and then stay plugged in, and so that you can maintain that fire that's burning inside and be able to keep going.
So good. And you know, I know before we got to recording, you shared with me, I hope I bring something new to the table for this group. And here's the thing. You brought a new perspective, and that's what I love, is that these analogies and staying plugged in and work. Oh my goodness, how if you take anything away, I need you to take away work your own business. It is so crucial, because I think too early in too many people's journeys, they go into management mode because you know, some of it's just getting out of their own momentum because they're trying so hard to help their teams, but then they've ignored this over here. And you've got to stay connected to your own level ones and growing that line. It's huge. Just like Erin shared with you, she has, what did you say, one level one jewel?
Yes.
And then the rest are in her, you know, level 2s and below. That's huge, y'all. I mean, that's a huge space to be in as a diamond ambassador, and it's impressive. And honestly, I would tell you this, that to me, that's more longevity than just having that boom. Oh, I've got, you know, so many level 1 and only having level 1 jewels. You know, it's that depth that you're creating and that width of strength. Huge. So you shared, okay, how many people have you personally sponsored? And again, I am so not detailed, so you can do ish.
Ballpark.
Yes.
Ballpark. I think I probably have around 55 to 60 personal level 1s.
Great.
And I probably have about 35 or so of those that have their convenience order in place and order every single month. So that's, that is, I watch that because it's important to me. I want to make sure that when I'm presenting the opportunity, that I'm plugging these new people in where it makes the most sense for both of us. I want them to get the best price, but at the same time, if they're going to try the product 1 month, or if they're not going to always be ordering over $100, then it doesn't make sense for them to be an ambassador. They need to be a preferred customer, still getting a great discount. And so I really try to think about, how am I positioning this? What questions am I asking so I can plug them in to the place that makes the most sense for them?
Perfect. So I hope y'all hear this. Not one shoe fits all feet, you know, so one size does not fit all here. So she's really looking at what makes the best sense, not only for her customer or potential new ambassador, but what makes most sense for her business, where it's a win for everybody involved. And so again, you know, it's not always, I know at one point in our careers, it was, oh, sign them on to be ambassador, sign them on to be an ambassador. And I could never connect or get on board with that because I had built my business on happy customers. And it was really difficult for me. And not saying this doesn't work. Again, building your business is not a one size fits all. For me, I built my business on product because it wasn't my level of comfort to ask someone to join my team if they didn't understand what was behind my team. You know, go, and yes, we're not salespeople, but we do share. So go share this, but you have no idea what you're sharing. That didn't make sense to me. So that's how I built my business, but it doesn't say that somebody couldn't build their business by just presenting the business side of it. So my last question for you, because you did already answer the lesson you've learned, and that was, and I don't know that you could get any better than what you answered in regards to the lesson in obedience. I think that's my favorite lesson learned so far. So thank you for that transparency there. Now the fun question and the last question of our time together. Talk to me about something fun or something meaningful that you've been able to do from a financial standpoint since becoming a diamond.
So when we moved to Tulsa, one of the things that was important to us is with 4 kids, we really wanted some space. We didn't want to be we're like in a neighborhood where we might be on top of each other, mainly for the benefit of our poor neighbors. We're really, really loud when we're out back. But we also, John, my husband's an outdoorsy guy. He loves to hunt, fish, and be out and about. And that was really important to him for our kids. Me too. I grew up out in the Oklahoma Panhandle where it's just wide open spaces. So we moved to Tulsa, and as we're looking at areas to live, we know where we want to live, but in order to get some space, we got to get an older home. So we jumped on it, and we bought this house that was the house we're in now. It was built in 1979 in all its glory. Actually, ours, it had been updated in 2000, so it wasn't like orange Formica and dark wood paneling anymore. They had slapped some white paint on it and tiled over it.
It wasn't a complete throwback, right?
Complete throwback. There was lots and lots of wallpaper, which I'm not against wallpaper. There's some very pretty wallpaper, but this was not. So, I kind of did some DIY the first few years before Plexus, but that's probably been one of my favorite things over the last year is we were able to do some nice upgrades to the house, and some of the things to just make it more functional, and we put on a huge back patio and screened-in porch, which we love because we live out there in pretty much the whole year except for the winter. Spring, fall, summer, we just live out there with the kids. So that's been a huge, it's just been a huge blessing for our family. My husband and I, we look at each other. I mean, I kid you not, once a week, like this is the best investment we've ever made was that back screened-in porch and the big old back patio. The other thing is we took the kids when was that? Oh, right before Christmas, took the kids on a Disney cruise. And that was it was just a wonderful memory. That was their Christmas this year. And that's not something we ever would have been able to do prior to Plexus. And we loved it so much that while we were on the ship, we went ahead and booked our next one, which will be probably in about a year or so. So those are a couple of things that we've done. Our next goal, I want to get my 2 littles swimming, and then we'd like to put a pool in our backyard. So that's going to be kind of a year or 2 down the road, but that's going to be our next big milestone that we're excited about. So those are some of the fun things that I've done.
Well, they're super fun, and I just have to tell you that it brings my heart's huge smile to see you blessed in this opportunity, and then for us to have met, because I don't know, maybe we would have because we have Celeste as a connector, but that we have met in this unique way, and that I can now call you friend because of the relationship that we've developed. And it makes my heart especially happy to see blessings upon such a sweet individual. So
you're so I agree completely. You're one of my favorites, and it's been so fun. And, we probably would have met at some point, maybe. Honestly, prior to Plexus, Celeste and I, we just sporadically connected because our kids are so much older than mine are. And we just kind of lived different lives. And so now I love that there's so many reasons for us to interact, and we have this common purpose. But we might have met at a party or something, but we would not have, there's no way we would have had the connection because of the common purpose. And, really, that's really solidified our relationship. And I know you would say this, we can say that exact same story for hundreds of people because of this. Plexus is so much bigger than supplements.
Oh, sure. Yeah, I think we were asked that question. I think the Diamonds were asked that question. When I joined this, I thought it was, and what it really was. And you're right. I mean, it's way more than just. It's really way more than just helping people. It's deeper than that. And I haven't found the right word for that because it needs its own word. Like I feel like what we do, what we're a part of, I'll wrap it up because I know our time and I want to respect yours. But I liken this opportunity to very much maybe the very first seasons of reality TV where there was just something special about it. And I'll even liken it to what I feel like was some of my first reality TV exposures, and that was The Real World and Survivor. And when I remember watching those shows, I was like, there'll never be anything just like this. And seasons to come for sure. But that first season, there will never be anything like that. And that's what I feel about Plexus. There are other network marketing companies. I'm sure they're great, but there's something special about this. And if you're a part of it, you made a great decision. You're in the right place. And now the question is just what you'll do with it. Erin, you shared your time with us, and I'm so, so grateful. Thank you from the bottom of my heart.
Thank you. I really appreciate it. It's been so fun. Thanks for asking me.
Absolutely. It's been super fun. So thank you all for tuning in. I just pray blessings upon you all, that you are richly and deeply blessed in your businesses and your personal lives. And until Dishing with Diamonds again, we'll see you. Go Plexus.